Here it is. Here we are. It's podcast time again, folks.
It's Christmas
Woo-hoo!
time.
It's been a while.
No, yeah,
Been a while.
it has, yeah.
So Mark and Col have reappeared, dusted ourselves down, had a wash and a brush up, and we've had our legs shaved and had a quick bowl of porridge.
Yeah.
And we return, revitalised, to present one more Beatleplaces with Mark and Col.
Marvellous, marvellous. Looking years younger you are, Col.
Do you think so?
Yes.
I think it's the olive oil. Yeah.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
I'll have another glass.
So this podcast will be a lot of fun to do because in our series of Beatles with an A, you've heard of that, Mark, you've done a few, we've reached the dizzy heights of the letter
H. H.
And guess what, folks? It stands for Harrison.
Oh.
So it's today and tonight, and this is a George Harrison special edition podcast. Oh, you lucky people.
Just about George.
Just George all the way through. Stick a rock.
Yep.
Here we go.
Marvellous.
And it's got lots of George stuff presentable in the show tonight. We've got items and quotes and quizzes. The only thing that spoils it is Col and Mark.
Yeah.
are in charge.
Never mind, eh?
We did have, I hope to have some special guests for the show to join us, namely that chef fella who swears a lot.
Yeah.
And that bloke who can talk to dogs, he couldn't turn up.
Yeah.
And that lady who's off the Masked Singer, and the whole of the cast of the Phantom of the Opera. But they all were busy.
They all came yesterday.
Yeah. Or then maybe they're all due tomorrow.
Got the date. Yeah, you never know.
You never know. So I'm afraid, folks, it's just Mark and Col tonight. But never fear, the podcast will make up for us, and so will our jokes. Yeah. So we go onward and we go upward.
Yeah.
Just check my place in that.
What,
Yeah. I think we're getting a call from...
What's that I hear?
It's Pope John Paul.
Oh, yeah, and a jingle.
Oh, one of them.
Aye.
Here it is.
Right, I've got a quick quote for you from George Harrison.
Oh, well, let's start the show with that.
It says, I never used to shower.
Hang on, are we talking about George Harrison?
George Harrison, yeah. When they were in Germany, when they were at the Bambikino.
Oh, the Bambikino.
Bambikino Club. There was a wash basin in the lavatory at the Bambikino, but there was a limit of how much you could wash yourself in it, really. You could clean the teeth, have a shave, and that was about it, really. And he remembers going to the public baths, but that was a long way from the Bambikino. And George says, later on, maybe the third time we visited Hamburg, we'd go to Astrid Kirch's to have a wash. I don't think we bathed or showered at all when we were first there. Probably not even the second time.
Well, I mean, I know what he means. I know what he means about baths, basins and stuff. Because if you've been to a few youth hostels, you'll know there's very little to go with, and then they improved a wee bit.
Aye.
And then swimming baths, they would usually have what's called travelling cubicles. So anyone who's like travelling through but couldn't get to a hotel, they used to lay on a bath, which I believe you could go to for a couple of bob, couple of pfennig. Oh, right, good quote, though. Good quote. Keep them coming.
I'll dig another one out in a bit.
So, welcome one and all. It's the Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col. It's the Beatleplaces podcast special with George Harrison featured in the subject of Beatles with an A.
Aye.
And we're going to have a lot of features on through tonight. George through the years.
Yep.
We'll be talking about George and a few song origins of his. We're going to say a topic called George Says Something, which is basically George Harrison quotes.
Yeah.
And of course, you name it. When George visited his sister in America, George and his first girlfriend, and maybe a bunch more. So you've got to stick around for all that. And we're going to crack on. So you've done quotes. Let me just see what I've got handy here.
Aye. Tell me, when's George Harrison's birthday?
Oh, well, it's well known.
That's the beginning of it,
it's
really,
well
isn't it?
known. It's not the day we all thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was the day after. And even George didn't know. Was it 25th of Feb?
I think so.
25th of Feb. And
I know it's not far away.
He'd always celebrated as the 24th, the poor fella. And poor George was unbeknownst to this fact. And somehow or other, it was found out. So poor George Always celebrates his birthday at the wrong day. I have a problem with my birthday. It's at the wrong time of the year, but that's another story.
Mine comes around every year.
Does it?
And it always comes around too quickly.
Well, happy birthday, just in case we've missed it. Or it's today or tonight.
No, it was a couple of days ago for my birthday, as you well remember, because you gave me a card.
Just in case there's another one on the way.
Hopefully no more this year.
This week.
I've had enough now.
I think what I'll do is just to lighten the mood a wee bit. Straight away, jump right in here, Fred.
Right.
And I'll give you a Beatles quiz about George.
Oh, go on then.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
A couple of questions. Let's see where you're at, and we'll answer them as we go along.
Right.
So this one's instant karma quiz. Beatles who's who? George Harrison.
Who?
You should slow down. Get excited here. Slow down.
Yeah.
All right, question one. Name of the song George wrote about Beatle fans.
It was called Apple Scruffs.
It was. I was going to give you a clue, but no, not needed.
I couldn't think of the word at the end. I knew what it was at the beginning. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, well, one or two of them got to sing in a Beatles song or two.
did.
Another time, another mention. Question two. Name the only song George wrote that became a Beatles A-side single.
Oh.
Pretty obvious, but let me hear you.
Something.
Oh, that's the answer.
Yes. Yeah. Something is the answer. Definitely is.
Something can be the answer
and
as well.
It is, finally.
Great.
Draw a line under
two,
that.
2 out of 2.
Oh, God. Bye.
Now, number 3. Name the
exciting now,
movie.
listeners.
Name the movie George's film company produced starring Madonna.
Oh.
And I was reading this. I read the press interview on this the other day. Very funny.
Shanghai thing.
Keep going.
Yeah, I can't remember what else, what the other words in the name.
What if I bought you a drink?
Oh, thank you very much.
No. Surprise. Shanghai surprise.
Oh, that's it. Shanghai surprise.
Which
would be a surprise if you bought me a drink.
Shut up. Which Beatles song did George attempt over 100 takes to record? Famously famous.
Famously famous.
I'll give you the year if it helps.
Go on then.
1968.
Ah.
And I can't blame you if you don't get it.
No, I can't.
That was a clue. Not guilty.
Ah.
Not guilty.
I
Can't blame you.
that.
Not guilty.
Yeah.
I had fair dues. I think the song's fine when it was finally done. 103, 104 takes. It's probably the intro, a little bit fiddly on the old guitar. But he had a jolly good go at it, and yet didn't appear on anything except later on with the anthology and whatnot. Okay, name George's eldest brother. There's got to be somebody called Harrison. There's a clue.
Very good. See, you've been to school. Arthur.
Oh, well, not quite, no. It's Harry.
Harry
Harrison. So the Beatles family trees book has quite a lot of the Harrison clan mentioned. There's loads of people involved, and in fact there is a Manchester connection as well as a Scottish connection, and people from the Isle of Man there's a connection with the Harrison family. So if you notice that it's in the Beatles family tree, I might mention that a bit later on. Give you one more question just to finish this particular little mini round, just for fun. What year did George join the Quarrymen?
I would say...
Well, you can guesstimate, can't you, to a degree?
59.
Oh, so close. Missed the bar. 58.
58.
Yeah. And then it all took off, didn't it? It all took off. Who knew? Who knew? But it's good. Luckily, the Quarrymen are on the Instagram account I run for Beatleplaces, and they are very kind, and they keep an eye on things if I get them wrong, factually wrong. Some people do write back and say, no, you're wrong, it was green, it was yellow, or it's 1952, whatever it is I've said, and they correct me on it. I just go, okay. Because some of it, in my excitement, I just type out willy-nilly, and Mark knows willy and nilly. So there you go, a little bit of a quiz, a proper quiz for our listeners later on.
I have a couple of quizzes to tax your brain cells a bit later on.
All right.
And I'm just reading another bit about George in his early years as well, about going to church and stuff. He says Everybody was out there in the pub and getting drunk and stuff like that, and then go to church, say 3 Hail Marys and 1 Our Father, stick a fiver in the plate and go home.
Fiver!
But George didn't like that, felt alien to him, he says. Not the stained glass windows or the pictures of Christ, he liked that a lot, and the smell of the incense and the candles, but he didn't like all the other stuff going on as well. BS going on. After communion, he is supposed to have confirmation, but he thought, I'm not going to bother with that. I'll just confirm it later on myself. Do it that way. And from then on, he avoided church every day. But on Thursday, a kid would come round to herald the arrival of the priest. They'd go around all the streets, knock on the doors and say, the priest is coming, the priest is coming. And we go, oh, blimey, and run up the stairs and hide.
Yeah, don't twitch the curtains.
My mother would have to open the door and he'd say, hello, Mrs. Harrison. It's nice to see you again, so it is, be Jesus. She stuffed 2 half-crowns in his sweaty little hand, and off we go to build another church or pub, something like that.
That's just George being a bit histrionic there, but he is true. Round the corner from Arnold Grove is a great big church. Yeah. Back of Wavertree, and it must have been that one, that they all came from and to.
Yeah.
And so they were very much like local priests. No wonder he reacted, poor fella. Poor old George. Would you like an interesting fact about one of George's earlier ancestors?
Go on, man.
And to do with World War One. A fella called Henry Harrison. Henry Harrison was one of George's paternal grandfather, and he was born in 1882 in a place called Abyssinia Street in Wavertree. So they always remained in the Wavertree area as far as I can tell. And guess what? It was next door to a street called, believe it or not, Ono Street. O-N-O, Ono Street.
Oh, well, I never...
Yeah, if you look on an old map, you'll see they're both together. So, coincident or what? Well, Henry was a bricklayer, a master bricklayer, and the Harrisons had a lot to do with the building of Liverpool houses in their time. A lot of them were journeymen joiners and craftsmen with stone masons might be the word, and they did a lot there. But what he did was he joined World War One fight, and he joined the Loyal North Lancashire Regiment about 1914, not long after the war started. And sadly, and very sadly indeed, he died on the first day of the first battle he was in, the Battle of Louise, LOOS, in northern France. And in total, 8,500 odd people died in that battle in that time. And he was buried in a place called St. Mary's Commonwealth War Grave in Haisnes in France. And I've got the plot number and everything, but his wife received word of his death 2 months after it happened. And he left behind 7 children, which included George's own dad, Harry. And the grave and the Beatle link to George was only made in, guess what year?
79.
1992. 1992. Little Henry Harrison, God bless his cotton sock. There you go. It's Beatleplaces podcast, folks, and it's time for a gingle.
Giving unemployed, good-looking, tall, handsome, well-groomed voiceover artists a bit of part-time work. It's the Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col.
Is that all right?
Yes, it's fine. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next.
Well, that was nice.
Did you like it?
I did, yes.
I mean, it's slightly off.
It's taken years to record that.
Yeah, all of 8 notes.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
What are you going to?
I am, yeah. I'd like to know, when did George first meet Ravi Shankar? Any idea what year it was he first met Ravi Shankar? Thinking back to the music and things like that.
Sometimes you have to, before everyone knew about him, that would be 67 onwards. But when George met him, would have been around a certain time a lot earlier. And I would say 65.
Very good, right on the dot.
65. Was that to do with the buying of a sitar?
Not quite. No, he met him at a dinner run by Mr. Anghardi, who in London. Who ran the Asian Music Circle in London. George went to that, and I was invited by Mr. Anghardi, and Ravi Shankar was there. And that was the first time he met him.
As you're talking earlier about the local priest in Wavertree, it's kind of his spiritual. He was seeking something spiritual, you could tell. So it looks like his interest kind of looked and spotted this thing. He said, well, That doesn't seem too bad. That doesn't seem too bad. I don't have to give him £5 every time he comes round. You never know with people, but you can see how things evolve and develop. So that was one of his happiest memories, wasn't it? Sort of being with Ravi Shankar and stuff.
Yeah.
Even if we don't sort of understand the music nowadays, when you watch the concert for George, that's quite an enjoyable bit of music when they're playing the Indian stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it. Yeah, I kind of liked it.
I haven't listened to it for a while, and I'll have to play that concert again.
It's a good one. Yeah, everybody
I like it very
everybody
much.
has a good time. It's quite sad at the end, but Joe Brown does one of the best things in it. And my brother knows Joe Brown, or he knew him for a while anyway. And if Joe Brown knew George Harrison, then in a funny, strung out way, I kind of know George Harrison.
I'll see you in my dreams. That's what he
Okay,
sang.
if you hope.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. You're listening to the Trouble with Sellotape podcast. Only kidding. Just seeing
Stick
if you're
with
listening.
it. Stick
Just
with
seeing. It's yeah.
You like that
with
one?
conjoined idiots Bob and Dave talking about their problems people have with rolls of sellotape.
Yep. Still can't get it off.
Another feature time. Another feature time, and then Mark can jump in with his attempt at a quiz.
Right. Go on then.
George in the USA.
Oh.
George went to America before the Beatles did,
he
as
now?
most people are beginning to find out. He went to go and see his lovely sister as long ago as it was, 1964 he went, and it was in 1954 that George's sister Louise and her husband, who was Scottish and an engineer and draftsman, they went to go and live. They planned to go to Australia to emigrate, but instead they took up work in places like Peru and Canada and Ontario. But they settled for the Freeman Coal Company in Benton, Illinois, and set a few hundred miles. It's about 200 miles from St. Louis, where I've been once. And George took an advantage of a gap in the Beatles' itinerary when they weren't busy for just the merest amount of time. And he went to America with his brother, and they went and explored Benton, Illinois. And at the time he arrived there, Louise, who was now called Louise Caldwell, she'd had 2 kids. One was called Gordon Jr. and a daughter, Leslie. So being so far from Liverpool, there was no way the Harrisons family could all afford to go. But George, now he's making some money, he went. So in September 1963, I got the year wrong there, the same day that the She Loves You was released in the USA, George arrived in America with Peter, his brother, to see their big sister. And really, he was just a tourist. And there's a bit of home movie footage you can see on TV when they have George Harrison documentaries. And he's walking around the Empire State and Broadway, and he just looks like, a well-dressed fellow, long hair for his time, and no one's given him an ounce of attention. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. He even went to a couple of Broadway shows because he was in New York to begin with. And after that, he made his way down to Benton, Illinois, and joined his sister and her husband, Gordon. And they got together. And famously, George enjoyed the time there. And he did all those American things you want to do. Eat hot dogs, hamburgers, big cars. And he found a couple of guitar shops. And he ordered a Rickenbacker that I know of from one of the shops, which famously reached him. And also on the way back, coming home with those records from Benton, and after seeing his sister, the place is still there, by the way. He bought some records, and that included one from a fellow called Rudy Clark, and that song famously he re-recorded much later in his time in about 1988, and it was called Got My Mind Set on You.
Aye.
So from 1963, Got My Mind Set on You, 1988. There's a little bit of a story about George going to the USA before he was a Beatle.
Relived it again. It's good to come back again. Excellent. Very good.
If you like it, carry on listening. It's Beatleplaces podcast, everyone.
With
Hello.
Mark and Col
And Col.
on a cold February evening.
It's a wee bit chilly.
Hey, it's bitter out there, tis lad. It's all right for you listening in the warm climate that you're listening in at the moment.
Wherever that might be. Yeah.
There could be freezing cold there as well.
Any chance of stuff there from your end?
Aye.
What have
How
you got?
about telling me the first line of the song by George?
Oh, this isn't one of those things you did last time, like the song before and the song after. Or
Not quite.
Always
no.
lyrics.
This is just the first line
Lyrics.
of the song All Things Must Pass.
Oh, what a great question.
Aye, I thought that'll catch you out.
In
You
bracket-
can remember all things must pass.
Yeah,
But
I'm going to
what's the
struggle. I'm
first
going to
line of the
struggle on
song?
this. Something about so far away.
Not quite, no. It's something that's approaching, but not just yet. It's a bit early for it.
Easter.
No.
Tax return time.
No, it happens every day.
Oh, morning.
Yes.
So it's in the morning.
What happens every morning?
You wake up in the morning.
It comes up.
The sun rises in the morning.
How long does it last
Oh,
for?
this is going to be a while, folks. If you've got cushions.
It says, the first line is, sunrise doesn't last all morning.
Well, that's prophetic enough, isn't it?
Aye.
Prophetic enough. Yeah.
Sunrise
I would
doesn't last
agree
all-
with his assertion.
He's hit the nail right on the head there, really. Well done, George.
Hey,
Yeah,
man.
very well done. Excellent. I'll do another one in a minute.
Yeah, if you can force yourself.
If I must.
Well, I mean, George liked his sunsets, but also he loved comedy. And one thing we readily understand is if there's comics about, he was enjoyably funny himself. What he liked was other comedians, and he hung around quite a few in his time. And he always liked the company of comedians anyway. He had a lot to do with Eric Idle right to the end. He sang on Eric Idle's own TV show, Rutland Weekend Television, and sang the Pirate song that I remember. He was pretty good in that show as well.
Yep.
Had something to do with Neil Innes in the same show.
Aye.
And he had an affection, as we both do ourselves, for an old-time Lancashire northern-based comedian singer that I'm sure he's mimicked in his time many a time, but George was an official fan of this fella, and he is called George Formby.
Aye.
And George Formby I love to bits because the guy made a lot of movies during wartime, and he was just like a bit of a hapless soul, but he was a jolly nice fella. He told silly jokes and he had silly catchphrases. Oh, hey, mother. And he entertained people, and he was very, very, very popular. He was born in Lancashire in about 1904, and he just became like a sort of a theatre star, vaudeville star, because his dad was, and yet he had a bit of a difference to him. He started to make these films, and they were just jolly entertaining. Now, George naturally latched onto these because he could see George Formby films all the time, because they were always being shown locally at cinemas in Liverpool, like the Tatler and the one around the corner from there, I've forgotten the name of it now. But certainly those movies were, they not the Pivy, another one. But they would show these movies like in daytime between gigs at the Cavern. The Beatles would turn up at the cinema, and they could watch old movies like Laurel and Hardy, who George also liked, and George Formby, and George did an awful lot. But George, like I said, was an official member of the George Formby Appreciation Society, and around 1991 he turned up in the Blackpool Winter Gardens, which is northwest of England, and he performed a little song on his ukulele, because that was his preferred instrument, George Formby's, and it was a good ukulele. Apparently he was one of the world's best ukulele players, very strong, had a very good technique and so on, and George had a go at it. He said he was nervous when he performed the show in 1991, as you may do, because you've got to get a George Formby song right. But I think George took the affection and love of a George Formby performance, ukulele playing especially. Jeff Lynne got involved in it quite late on with a lot of ukulele music in the background. There's always pictures of them playing ukuleles.
Yeah, all sitting in the garden, aren't they? All,
Yeah.
All dink-a-dink,
Yeah, especially on the anthology.
all having a nice
sat
time.
with Ringo and Paul. They were playing. He was playing Derry-Doon on his uke. So I think it's because John Lennon's mum also had an affection for ukulele music as well. So it just went around. I've got a ukulele in the cupboard over there.
Have you now?
Yes, I have, and I won't give you a tune because I don't want to make you suffer any more than you do. So George's performed song on the day of the George Formby Appreciation Show was my little snapshot album. And what you'll also have to do is sometime when you've got a time is go online, look at YouTube and look up either George singing it or probably George Formby singing it, because they're both bloody good. And as you can remember, if you think hard enough, at the end of Real Love, in the video especially, they have a scene where there's a vaudeville performer, a bit like George Harrison, singing, sorry, I do beg your pardon, Free as a Bird. And at the end of that, they cut to a vaudeville, British vaudeville, theatre scene of a type of George Formby type of guy.
Fades away on that, doesn't it?
Playing a ukulele to a little audience, and he's just very good. So, turned out nice again was George Formby's phrase, and you hear that at the end of the Free as a Bird video. So that's the reason why you see it.
Aye.
Yeah, a little bit about one of George's favourite people, George Formby.
Hey, what was George Harrison's, what did he say was one of his favourite sweets?
Oh, is this to do with Savoy truffle?
No.
Okay.
In one of the early gigs that they did on the 14th of December in, where are we, 1900 and frozen to death. They did a performance at Wimbledon Palais for the Southern Area Fan Club Convention. 3,000 fans present got to shake hands with the Beatles when they weren't bombarding them with jelly babies.
Jelly babies.
John said, someone once asked what the kids had sent us, and we said, things like jelly babies. But I said, George ate them. And the next day I started getting jelly babies with a note saying, don't give George any. And George got some saying, here's some for you, George, you don't need John's. And then it went mad. They started throwing them all over the place. Finally, we got round up. We don't like them anymore. And it got so crazy. Halfway through, George said, I'm not going to do this anymore. Packed up. Went to the stage door and began looking for a cab. And Neil Aspinall says, I ran after him and said, what are you doing? You can't walk out. We've got to finish. And then John turned up with his guitar and said, what are you doing? And he said, well, if he's leaving, I'm leaving. But they finally did the gig anyway. Shook hands with all the fans, all 10,000 of them, because they kept going back round to the end of the queue and round to the back of the queue.
Well, you would if you could. You would if you could, wouldn't you?
I shook hands with George Harrison 16 times, and stuff like that.
There were people who did all kinds. I mean, my neighbour is a lady called Jackie, and when she was a teenager, she was in the cavern looking at the Beatles. So she's got a few stories about that. But she was often giving. Who was she giving cakes to? I think it might have been Paul. She'd make a cake, spend all day making a cake, turn up. And then she'd put the cake by the band room, which is just next to the stage. And there'd be a whole line of bloody cakes next to everybody had the same idea. Yeah. Anyway, long gone.
Oh, well.
So, welcome all. It's Beatleplaces podcast, rattling on for another evening. We're the George Harrison special. I hope you're enjoying it.
Aye. You want the best. You expect the best. You deserve the best. So while you're waiting, here's the Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col. Talking about George Harrison.
I think we are.
In Arnold Grove. Tell me what was in the backyard. Apart from the 1 foot wide flower bed, a toilet and a dustbin.
It wouldn't have had much, but I think probably a chicken.
Ooh, very close.
Hens.
Yeah, it's hen house with some cockerels in it.
Yeah, because we did as well when we were kids. We had the same setup, same sort of house. Steel bath, won't go up outside. And a couple of clucking hens, and I said clucking hens outside as well. Somehow they were all fitted in, and apparently when my dad was a kid they had a horse as well, so how did you fit all that in the back? So that was in his time. When in my time we had hens. George had hens too.
We didn't have hens in our garden.
you were posh. You were posh.
Well, we lived in a flat, that was why we couldn't have a garden.
Right. So, well, they could fly in
till I was 3, so anyway.
Enjoyable stuff, isn't it? It's a bit random, but that's the way we love it. Now, George had many partners in life.
Many
Partners in life. Girlfriends I'm talking about. And, you know, we've talked about girlfriends of the past that George had, and there's quite a few local ladies. I'll mention two who you could probably say were both his first girlfriends. In fact, there's really a real first girlfriend who was one he fell for back in Dovedale Primary. And details about her I'll mention another time. Let's mention two who were in and around his life about that time when he was about 13, 14. And the first one was Ruth Morrison. Ruth Morrison. Started going out together when George was about 15. And in 1958, we mentioned when he became a quarryman. Before then, he was in the Les Stewart Quartet, and they had a lot to do with the Casbah and so on. But Ken Brown, who was in the Les Stewart Quartet with George, realised that George was head over heels for this girl called Ruth. And the three of them were always sitting together in another club called the Lowlands Club, which isn't far away from the Casbah. And Ruth suggested that Mona Best should open a coffee bar called the Casbah, and it led to bigger things happening, and things took off, as we all know. George and Ken Brown approached Mrs. Best to set up a residency for them, and that's where, unfortunately, they were approached by... but when they approached Les Stewart, he refused to go, and so that's when one of the reasons why George split away from the Les Stewart Quartet, making it a trio, I think, and it became part of the Beatles ultimately. But Ruth, as I looked her up, when I researched particular records, she was in the same school as Pete Best, so that's how come she knew Pete Best. And what happened after that, who knows, but Ruth did move away to become a nurse in Birmingham, so no more is known about our dear Ruth. One of the interesting people I looked up, and I think there's a spin-off from this, is another early girlfriend called Jennifer Brewer. Now she appeared, she wasn't a local girl, she appeared on the scene when the Harrisons went on holiday. George was only about 12 when him and the family all went down to a place called Exmouth and an area called Sandy Bay in Exmouth, which is southern England to you and me. Very, very nice and summery.
Holiday country.
Yeah, and they became friendly with a family there called the Brewers. And the Brewers themselves came from the London area. But originally they were brought up on a farm in a place called Laundry Cottage in Binfield Heath, where the family kind of lived, and yet they came to this sort of resort and enjoyed the beaches and stuff. And there are pictures of George on the beach with the Brewer family and his own family at the time. And so on the quiet, I think George had this girlfriend, Jennifer Brewer. But the fascinating fact was when they moved again from the place they lived in Oxfordshire to a place called Henley On Thames. And that is where George ultimately went to live in Friars Park. So that's a nice coincidence. And I'm sure whenever he was in the area of Friars Park and he knew anything about Jennifer Brewer in the area, he'd remember all that. So Jennifer Brewer, a very early girlfriend of George's.
A little question for you. How many chocolates can you name from the box of chocolates made by Macintoshes called Good News?
Good News, yeah.
From which George wrote Savoy Truffle from the White Album.
Oh, now.
Can you remember any of the names?
Montélimar.
Aye.
Because that's a big name that you can't forget, really.
Montélimar. Yep.
Sudden silence indicates I've forgotten the rest.
Coffee dessert.
Coffee dessert.
Ginger sling.
Ginger sling with a pineapple heart.
Yep. Savoy truffle, obviously. All of them down here. Well, I'll read them all out.
You've got a picture of the Chucky box.
Cream tangerine.
Yeah, cream tangerine.
Savoy truffle. Toffee and cherry cup. Coconut and caramel. Pineapple treat. Montélimar. Ginger sling. Almond sundae. Nougatine cup. Toffee cream Brazil. and that's about it. Coffee, dessert.
I could see some of the ones he couldn't rhyme, so he left them out.
Bit difficult. Yeah.
But there's about 6 in there that he
Nougatine
get a
cookies,
mention.
which
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
bit,
yeah. And I can remember them chocolates from being a kid.
Lovely.
And they weren't good for you, but they were great.
Oh, right. Still are now.
Chocolates. I've got a thing about Toblerones at the moment. There's something about the nuggets in them, the nougat.
Oh, yes.
Oh, blimey.
Almonds,
I got given
almonds.
some the other day, and I'm like, oh.
Hopefully
I forgot.
somebody will send us a great big box of
So,
Toblerone now.
Can the Toblerone company remember where we live? Song stuff. I think we'll talk about a few songs straight after we've had a wee reminder as to who we are.
Oh, right. Well, my name's Mark.
No, I meant jingles.
Oh, right.
That one over there will do. Pick that one off the shelf. Pick one. Yep.
Hang on a minute.
Yep.
Just get,
Mind your back.
me back.
Oh.
It's Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col, radio's answer to naked attraction.
Oh, I'll have to get the embrocation out now from my back.
Anyway,
that's who we are.
That Problem podcast is available on all good listening devices.
Just going for
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's Mark and Col with Beatleplaces podcast, specialising in the George Harrison special tonight. George with an A, George with an H, whatever you want to call it. It's just a jolly old podcast.
It is. It certainly is.
I said we'd talk about songs. Do you mind if I talk about the song you mentioned before in the questions?
If you must.
Something.
Oh.
Well, as we know already, the song Something was the only issued Beatles A-side there was that George wrote. It was recorded during the double album, the White Album sessions in 1968, and he did a little demo, and he kept it recorded on the Isha tapes, as if you're familiar with it, but it wasn't used until Abbey Road, as we all know. And it was released as a single in October 69, so really, really quite late in terms of the Beatles' history, because they were all done and dusted by January of 70, weren't they? So, and it was released on as a single in America in October of 69. How high did it go? Let's say
Number
1. Top 10. Number 3. A song like that. So even John and Paul said it was the best song on Abbey Road, as it was at the time. When John was asked to comment in his Playboy interview around 1980 summertime, he said Something was the first time he ever got an A-side, because Paul and I wrote both sides anyway, not because we were keeping them to ourselves, but simply because his material wasn't up to scratch. Obviously, he must have been up to scratch. The first line, Something in the Way She Moves, was inspired by a track on a James Taylor album, and James Taylor was an Apple recording artist at the time. And for a time, and as a joke, George had opened with the lines, "Something in the way she moves me like a pomegranate," and because he kind of missed the boat off the double album, the White Album, he offered it to Joe Cocker a year before he actually went and did it. So it's just interesting. How many versions do you think there are worldwide of that very song? Not just by him, but by other people.
I would say 35.
How do you know? You know that? Wow, wait.
Is it right?
You are as wrong as can be.
Oh.
It's well over 150 and counting.
Well, goodness me.
Yeah, including Frank and Shirley Bassey and
Frank and Shirley Bassey?
Not Frank and Shirley Bassey. They were a double act.
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra and Shirley Bassey. Not Shirley Sinatra.
Frank and Shirley Bassey from
Frank
Fuse
Bassey.
Aye.
It did get an Ivor Novello Award as the best song musically and lyrically. That's a bit of a
well
of a
done,
win, isn't it?
George.
And he was worried about it being a popular hit, but it's he said it was quite a straightforward song except for the bridge. I don't know if I should leave her now and all that, making it all work. But the arrangement took him quite a while to get that bridge sorted out. So the song Something, as you already know, a massive super hit worldwide for George, and he was very pleased about it. And I think he was more pleased that Frank and Shirley Bassey had something to do with it as well towards the end. Over to Marcus.
Right, I have a little ditty question for you.
You can fire away, kid.
See if you can dig this one from your intense research.
Some
that
kind of
you
a
have
data
done.
bank.
Aye. What was the name? You probably get this. What was the name of teacher George's dad who stuck one on in junior school
Oh, that's a famous one.
when he was 8 or 9
Yeah.
after being caned on the wrist?
Yeah, it was, the occasion was when George was a little kid, little infant,
Aye.
at Dovedale Primary, and his form teacher was a fellow called Mr. Lyons.
Correct.
And I've done a little story on Mr. Lyons anyway, but
Yeah.
famously he caught George out for something, told him off for something, and it's usually it's innocent stuff.
Aye.
So he wrapped him on the wrist, which obviously must have been visible. You know, it's a bit like you with your wobbly elbow.
Pulled
today.
his sleeve back and then
And
it was...
his dad caught this at home. He saw this at home. And there's Harry Harrison. He's not a very tall fella.
Yeah.
But this Mr. Lyons was kind of a tall fella. So this is making you picture how it looked. So Harry Harrison went to school with George,
Yeah, got the teacher
got
out.
Mr. Lyons,
Yeah.
thumped him,
Yep, stuck one on him.
and put him on the floor.
Yep.
And I found a thing called I can't remember the name of the book now. It's like a Dovedale Primary daily log, and it said Mr. Lyons was off sick
Yeah.
because he was off sick for a while. Just found that little record. Go, oh, I know why he was off sick,
Being thumped.
because he had a bloody big black eye.
Aye.
Lovely story, but Mr. Lyons saved him right. Saved him right.
Hey.
There you go. It's something we both now know. Welcome, everyone. It's time to talk about guitars. George's guitars, he loved his guitars. There's a few stories about the guitars he had. He didn't have a very good one at the beginning when he was learning, but he progressed and he got better and better. He always had his eye on the American guitars you could get, but there was an export ban. Currently, all kinds of tariffs are on things in the world, and there was a proper export ban, or import ban, should I say, on American guitars. So we're talking Gibsons, Rickenbackers, Fenders. You just couldn't get hold of them. So usually you had to slip away, get to America, or know a sailor who would be in America and get one for you. But at the time, when George was accumulating his guitars, he'd gone through various types of guitars, unnamed guitars. Then he got a good Gretsch. He got a Gretsch guitar, if people know what I'm talking about. But famously, the guitar he played on the very last occasion he was performing in the Cavern wasn't a Rickenbacker, it wasn't a Gretsch, it wasn't a Fender. It was this one. So when Pete Best got his first ever drum kit from Blackler's, he got his second kit from Rushworth and Draper, which is a sort of music store in Liverpool, now gone. And it lasted him through all his Beatle years. He's finally sold this world-famous kit to an anonymous classified ad, which I couldn't find, by the way. And he got himself a brand new Ludwig kit for his next band, Lee Curtis and the All-Stars. So obviously the money was stumped up front, and he got an oyster blue drum kit. Now it so happens he got it from a place called Barrett's in Manchester. I think there's even a version of it online still. It's a music store as popular as Hessie's was in Liverpool. And George himself loaned a Maton MS500 Master Sound guitar from Barrett's in mid-1963. And he played that very guitar at several local gigs, but significantly, it was his last ever performance in the Cavern, 3rd of August, 1963. And I wonder what that guitar's worth for everything, for the symbolism and for what it was and who played it. Must be worth a ton of money now.
Must be.
Barrett's in Manchester. I've never been to that one. Been to the others, been to Rushworth and Draper's, and been to Hessie's, God bless them, now gone. But I'm not sure. Mark, anything you've got worth knowing about?
Right, another little question for
Oh,
you.
yeah, go on. I don't mind them now.
you-
Getting numb now.
Unknowingly, you've mentioned one of the questions I was going to ask you earlier on, so I won't ask that.
Saves
now.
me right.
Serves you damn well right.
I
yeah.
blame Shirley Bassey.
You said before it's not going to be one of those track before and track
Oh,
after. And all that. Well, I've got one for you. I would like to know the track preceding Eleanor Rigby off.
Oh, right. And I don't think it's It could be Taxman.
Eh,
Or is it Here, There and Everywhere?
no, you were right the first time.
Was I right the first
Taxman.
time? You know what? I never get these questions right, but I'm surprised.
Oh, very good. Well done. It's the first one on the album, isn't
How
it?
can I slap myself on the back? There you go. Yeah, well done, Carl.
First track off the album. And he wrote it because after paying 19 shillings and threepence, or 96p, from every pound in tax, the Beatles they didn't have any money left, really. Harold Wilson and Ted Heath also were the first living people named in a Beatles song.
Oh,
When they sing
real people, that is, not made up names like Eleanor
Mr.
Rigby.
Wills and that.
Ah,
Mr.
right.
Heath.
Well, they were our prime ministers in that era.
They were.
And that's why they got mocked. So
yep.
that's why George Harris said, "Ha ha, Mr. Heath." And what was the thing for Mr. Wilson?
Same
So,
thing. was
so
that
long,
some-
Mr. Wilson. Yeah, might have been. Yeah, might have been.
Anyway, they were the first living people named in a Beatles song.
Well, they were paying a lot of tax. It was called super tax, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Super tax, because there were 24 English shillings to a pound, and the Beatles paid 19 shillings as tax.
19 shillings and
And
threepence
threepence, which is,
for every pound in tax.
I think that's a little unfair. No,
So,
no wonder they did things with the money afterwards.
Aye.
You never give me your money.
And realised later on that they didn't get paid properly anyway for anything that they did in the
Well,
first place.
according to Alan Klein, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of backstory on the money front. But there's an entire book on the finances of the Beatles, and it's called "You Never Give Me Your Money," isn't
Aye.
it? You and I have got that.
I have.
It's a good read, but you've got to keep your eye on the ball about money going hither and thither, about royalties and cash here and payments there.
Aye.
I mean, they were earning so little up until Brian Epstein moved in. It's ridiculous. And once they were paid in, loose change. Loose change.
Good heaven. I wonder how much they got for playing at
Oh,
McDonough Hall. The
well,
Beatles Club.
yeah, it's a queer old question, that one. Don't know.
In West Kirby.
Don't
No
know.
idea.
Upwards of £4.
The first and only appearance at the Beatles Club.
It was called the Beatles Club, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And it was, and now the place is it a restaurant still?
Still a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. They played upstairs, and I've been there to a wedding reception
Yeah.
up above there as well. Once.
Well, I've been
So
to.
it couldn't have been that long ago after they first played there.
Well, I mean,
really.
talk of coincidences. My sister had her engagement due in a hall called Victoria Hall, and so the Beatles played there as well. So there's lots of weird things that the Beatles did.
Yeah.
Oh, they played there, or they had a cup of tea there, or they changed they bought jelly babies in that shop,
There was a thing on the telly this evening about the last remaining milk bar in Great Britain.
Oh yeah.
Which is in Ellesmere Port. And they showed some pictures of other milk bars around the area. And one of them was on Lime Street, and next to the Futurist Cinema and
Oh yeah, no, that
well.
was.
And they said the Beatles used to go in there as well.
Oh,
in
nice.
The milk bar on Lime
Is
Street.
it, so it's still there-ish,
Well,
or gone-ish?
It's gone now, but
As it
it's,
was.
It's something else. It's probably a pizza shop now.
Yeah, I know exactly where you mean. There was loads of little cinemas along there.
Yeah,
And
there
the
were two
Futurist was
Futurist and the Scala, I think.
bit of a
And
scuzzy
the
one.
ABC.
Bit of a scuzzy one, but it was all right. And the Beatles had drinks here and coffees there and cups of milk there. And of course, they were always in the famous Punch and Judy cafe place based in Lime Street train station.
Aye.
And what they should do there is recreate that. And then it would be another
a draw.
another thing.
It would.
Would you like to know something about outer space to do with George Harrison?
Oh, yes, please. I'm all ears.
Well, two will do. Two will do.
All right.
George Harrison, 4149.
Ah,
I'll tell you what that is.
that's a star.
No, it's not his home address.
Ah.
It's a minor planet that was named in honour of George Harrison.
Ah.
The planet was discovered March 1984 by the Anderson and Lowell Observatory. Says no more, but I understand the whole thing.
I'll have to investigate that a bit more.
Well, by rights, we could both ring them up, Although is
Yeah.
that the observatory? Yeah.
Got the
You could name one after me, could you?
Is that the telephone number?
No,
The
no. That's the
4049.
4149.
4149. Hello,
Yeah.
4149.
If you Google that, I'd love to know what happens. I'd love to know what happens. There you go.
Ah,
It's Beatleplaces podcast, everyone. And you know what it is?
no.
Time for a bloody jingle.
Ah!
The Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col. Find us under B for Beatles, or P for podcast, or A for any old rubbish.
Welcome back to the Pudding Podcast,
It's a story
a
time.
series of 22 shows discussing how great puddings are.
22.
22.
This is number 1, is it?
Welcome back to episode 1.
Steak and kidney pies.
Just thought I'd say something random. It's a George Harrison special tonight. We're talking about things George, things Harrison, and if you'd like to know any more, well, we'll start talking this minute. We're talking about the things he liked and did, and who he knew, and everything else. Nobody will recall too much about this, but George recorded one of the very first electronic synthesized music albums, and it came around, and it was called Electronic Sounds. Now, I'm pleased to say, I think Mark's got a copy of this.
I do indeed.
It's in your loft, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Following Wonderwall, George's second solo album, which also failed to make any impact on the charts, was released on the rare Zapple label. And it was just basically an experimental type of record. And of course, obsessed fans would have bought it. I'm looking at one right now. Side 1 featured tracks like Under the Mersey Wall, and the title being a twist of Over the Mersey Wall, which was written by a journalist by the same surname and name as George Harrison. George Harrison.
Good heavens.
Side 2 lasts 25 minutes and 3 seconds, and it's all called No Time or Space, and it was recorded in California. Now, I'm not aware of any Beatles-related, in their time-related recordings done anywhere else except England, so that's unusual. I've never knew that. And the inner sleeves of the album should include a quote from a fellow called Arthur Wax, which is really George, and it says, "There are a lot of people around making a lot of noise. Here's some more."
I'll have to have a look when I go home. See what it says.
It's just good and daft, isn't it? Good
It's
and
been in
daft.
my loft for 30 years, so
It'll last a bit longer.
lasts a bit longer.
Yeah.
MBEs.
God bless you. I just as long as you get my name right.
Lots of people get it, the MBEs, and the Beatles got one each. And George says he's not very happy, really, because after all we did for Great Britain, he says, selling all that corduroy and making it swing, I'm going to swear now, they gave us that bloody old leather medal with a wooden string through it. But my initial reaction was, oh, how nice, how nice. And John's was, how nice, how nice. I brought it home and put it in the drawer. And later on, I wore it on the Sgt. Pepper album cover picture session. So did Paul. And then it remained pinned on my Pepper jacket for a year or so before I put it back in the box and back in the drawer and never looked at it again.
Good old George saying the quote that really mattered at the time. I think it's time for more quotes like that. That was great.
And what's the name of George's haircut?
Arthur.
Correct.
Is it? Am I right? Arthur. Yeah. We missed the point of quotes, so I'll do a quick catch up with a handful here. Here's some good ones. George quotes. So something George said. I wanted to be successful, not famous. That's a great one.
Yeah.
And must have been a later interview when he said out loud, "We were the Spice Boys." As well as that,
yes.
There was a time when, I think it was around the time Paul was married to Linda Eastman, that George couldn't attend because he'd been arrested. And he was arrested famously by a famously corrupt policeman called Sergeant Pilcher. And George was kind of found to be honest, and he didn't do what the guy said. But he was quoted afterwards, and he said, "I'm a tidy sort of bloke. I don't like chaos. I keep records in the record rack, tea in the tea caddy, and pot in the pot box."
Hey.
Well, what else? One more for
Go on,
another
then.
feature. When you've seen beyond yourself, then you may find peace of mind is waiting there. Now, I should say that to myself of a night to get to sleep, but that's kind of a bit deep, that for me.
It
this
is a
time
bit
of
deep,
night.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that later on.
Another quote towards the end of the show.
Right, okay.
What have you picked up now?
Nothing.
Pardon my cold.
I haven't really.
Oh, would you like a bit more of a quiz, kid?
So press the pause button.
This one here.
This is the Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col. Please keep your hands inside the vehicle at all times.
Yeah. Button off. Is that working? Looks like it's working.
Press it again.
Yeah.
That's it.
God,
Going now, yeah.
These Sanyo tape decks are terrible, aren't they? Hello, everyone. Mark here, Col here. Beatleplaces podcast is the name of the game. It's a special.
What number are we up to?
703.
I thought it was number 20, wasn't it?
It could
is this
be.
the 20th one?
Oh, we've done more than that.
Have we?
We've done more than that.
I thought last one was 19.
Oh
this
no,
one's
we've
20.
done more.
Oh, we've done more than that.
specials and quizzes and odds and sods, and we're doing this Beatles with an A. So there's at least 5 or 6.
True.
Yeah. Would you like a little quizzy poos?
Super, yes.
It's
Off
a
you go.
George one. It's got to be a George one, and here we go. It's a timeline question test. So put these Beatles events, George related, in chronological order by year.
Right.
So just shout out loud what you think you know. Number 1, My Sweet Lord plagiarism court case settled.
Settled.
Settled. So remember the song come out?
Oh, aye.
Argued. It's another song. Court case, lawyers, dun 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 dun. The usual legal back and forth stuff.
1981.
Oh, you're a good guess. 1977.
Not good enough, but good in the first place.
No good to somebody, but in the end, George got the rights to the song, so he was all right in the end. We mentioned the song that George brought back from Benton, Illinois, from his sister's house, when he bought some records back and he recorded them and so forth and so on. Got My Mind Set on You was released.
1983.
87. 87.
I thought it was a bit early then
It's a
when
bit of
as
stab
soon as
in
it
the
came
dark
out my
with
mouth. Yeah.
When did George appear in The Simpsons? Throw a guess at me.
Oh, gosh.
Remember him in The Simpsons? Nothing like.
Not really, no. I don't watch The Simpsons that much.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, when they were good, The Simpsons were good. And they had
1996.
at least 3 Beatles on The Simpsons.
1996.
1993.
Ah,
Yeah, and he was good. He said all right things in the right place. A lot of Georgisms, you know. On behalf of the Beatles, George attends a high court concerning the Star Club tapes. I've got a copy of them. I don't know if you've got a copy of the...
not the Star Club one, no.
It was the New Year's Eve sort of gigs that they played. Supposedly they were on it and they didn't agree to it. That year that went out, as I'll tell you now, 1998. All to do with the legal side of it. Took forever. One more. And I didn't know this, but George appeared in a film called Mr. Holland's Opus. Mr. Holland's Opus. And Richard Dreyfuss is on that one that I remember.
Is he,
So what year did he appear in? That I remember? I don't.
78.
Oh, no. No. 1999.
Oh.
Prince's favourite year. Yeah.
Prince Charles.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, a friend of Shirley Bassey.
That's him.
So, well done, Mark, for having a go at least. At least.
Thank you very much.
Have you got out?
Only about photographers and
Yeah, go on.
the revolver sleeve. For the revolver sleeve, George says they moved away from Robert Freeman, who prepared the original artwork, though it wasn't used on the album, but they moved to Klaus Voormann, who did an excellent job doing that artwork. Klaus was a good artist and really good friend of ours. I can't remember how he arrived at Klaus, but he did a good job and it became quite a classic album cover. Revolver was accepted well, he said. I don't see too much difference between Rubber Soul and Revolver. To me, they could be Volume 1 and Volume 2.
It's true. I think Ringo had said something along the line. He got confused about what tracks are on what, because even you know me, I'm classically bad at these things. Remembering what tracks are on what. Some are more famous than others, and you can just rattle them off. But others are just a little bit all over the place. You know, I'm not great at that, and neither is he. By the sounds of it.
Ringo says that sort of Rubber Soul. Revolver has that quality of Rubber Soul because it's like the follow-on album, really. In a way.
1 and 2.
They're starting to find themselves in the studio, and overdubbing got better and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you catch some of those reviews of the albums, there's a very good one that's track by track. They do talk about how it develops each album. The first one was like, knocked off commercially, and then they said, look, we can perform here, we can do really good compositions, and they got really good.
I think marijuana helped there a bit as
A
well.
little bit of medication.
Yes.
Kind of hung around, the odd aspirin. And they did all right, they did okay. But that's a good observation, it's quite true. But, I mentioned before the Harrisons have an interesting family tree. It's all over the place, really, but it's mostly to do with Ireland and the Isle of Man, a place called the Isle of Man, which is just off the northwest of England. And also there is Scotland. All the Beatles have some kind of Scottish connection as we take them on board. So it's interesting to know a little bit about George's family, especially from the Irish side, and that included a fellow called John French. Now, I was putting a thing on Instagram last night about the time John French was a proper Liverpool policeman working for the Liverpool City Police, but that will be mentioned in this little sort of summary about John French and Louise French. Let me tell you all about them. George's maternal grandparents lived at 11 Albert Grove, Wavertree. Now, as we know, George lived in Arnold Grove, so you can guess that Arnold was close to Albert.
Arnold Albert.
Yeah, sorry. Just around the corner it was. And John French died aged 66 around 1937. And he's buried in Allison Cemetery. We've been to that cemetery grave, and it's been tarted up, to be honest. A new one's been there. But John and Louise, his wife, were both buried in the same place next to each other. But they met around when she was around 21. She was a single lady, and she worked as a room maid and a domestic worker, in other words, kind of a hotel person, in a place called the Ranelagh Hotel, which is based in Chester Street, in an area of Merseyside called Birkenhead. And she worked for a fellow called Mr. James Whittaker. God, I did some good research on this. Now, the census describes the building as a restaurant, but it was typically a sort of hotel. It was so close to the River Mersey. What it functioned as was a place to stay while you were waiting for your ship to America or Australia or somewhere else to leave from Liverpool. So you would stay the night there and then easily just rock up for the boat the next morning and off you go. So it was just that close. It didn't cost hardly any effort. But that hotel was kind of an important one. It is not there no more.
Oh.
It's very sad. But I tell you how they met. It's simply because Louise worked there and John French was how's the word I'm looking for? Taxi driver. He looked after a horse carriage, and that was a taxi in its time that took clients from the area called Heswell to Birkenhead, and from Birkenhead to the River Mersey and onto the boats. So his job was to get the posh people who stayed at his hotel, at his pub in Lower Heswell. Me and Mark have had a drink in there. And he took them on a horse carriage to Birkenhead. And so obviously he must have gotten to know the staff working at the hotel, and that included Louise. Now, the 1901 census report being known as Lucy, so that must have been a sort of localised name. And then by 1911 they were living together, never married, and they had a bunch of kids. And that's when John French, that is, Irish fella from Wexford, he quit his job working for the bar and the pub called, was it the Black Horse in Lower Heswell? Have I got the name right?
That's the Black Horse, yeah.
And then they went and lived together for a long, long time. But in 1907, 08, John needed to earn a proper living, so he became a policeman. And that's another story we'll cover another time, because it does involve a lot of stuff. When John French, George's maternal grandfather, became a policeman. Good story. Yeah, good story. There you go. Little side track there on the family tree of the Harrisons, or the Frenches, as they were known.
I'm going to read a little bit from his book called I Me Mine, about when he first started working.
Is that a book he actually penned, or is that kind of a ghost-written thing?
Well, no, sort
Now,
of.
I've got it myself, but
Yeah.
I've never kind of understood who wrote it really.
Well, it's by George Harrison. So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's about when they first started. Well, when he first got a job, really. He was playing in a band. And this went on for about 8 months, he said, with John and Paul, borrowing 10 bob off me dad. And in the end, my dad said, hadn't you better get a job or something? So I went to the corporation in Liverpool. That's the council.
Which you did, yeah, which you did.
But he didn't pass the test. He wasn't even good enough to get into the corp, he says. But he wasn't bothering, I wasn't trying. But after a lot of time, I had to, because it was getting too embarrassing.
Oh.
It was a long time before I could get a job. I went down to the Youth Employment Centre at Bydale Street. The man there said, OK, there's a job as a window dresser in Blackler's. So I thought, why not? I'll do that. It was something to do, to make everybody happy. I thought, I'm not going to be doing it for too long. But I did think I was really skiving not having a job. When I got to Blackler's, they'd given the job away. They said, go and see Mr. Pete in maintenance. He's looking for an apprentice electrician. So I got a job cleaning all the lights with a paintbrush, all those tubes to keep clean. And at Christmas, I kept the grotto clean. And occasionally we broke the lifts so we could have a skive in the lift shaft. And there was also the darts. I learned to play darts. I learned how to drink 14 pints of beer and 3 rum and blacks and eat 2 hamburgers all in one session. And, all this I learned, and at night we were doing gigs, and we got the gig to Scotland. I went and told the boss at Blackler's, I'm leaving, I'm sorry. It was a really great, it was great, really nice to say. Still only 17, and I resign. They got their money's worth out of me. They sent me off to Bootle to lay one of those big 10-phase cables in a warehouse which they owned. 30 bob a week I got. As a band, we've been playing Hoylake, which is over the river in the Wirral, where we are now, and places like that in the evening for at least 1 gig a week, which we would earn an extra £2 and 10 shillings.
Between them. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't work far from where George worked in Bootle in my time. And I know where he's coming from when he talks about grotty jobs, but, you know. That's great.
cables.
It's great that recollections like that. How he remembers it all, I do not know.
I don't know.
Another quote from George, perhaps? Would you like this one?
It's super. Go on. Off you go. I'm ready for you.
Because we were all from Liverpool, we favoured people who were street people. That was the reason why I was looking at the background to all the people who supported the Beatles. Only yesterday, I read a biography of Mal Evans. It was all right, you know, he's a big Elvis fan and that, but you know, he was just a nice fella who was funny and accommodating, and became a really close friend to them all. And he was just genial. He was just polite, genial, harmless, and a proper Scouse guy. You know, enjoyed a good laugh, and he was a nice fella to go with it. As was Neil or Nell, and all the others. Tony Barrow, who was the press agent. He came from a posher part of Liverpool called Crosby, but nevertheless Liverpool type of fella. And nearly everybody they liked and preferred were Liverpool people. Terry Dorr, and even Brian Epstein was a Scouser.
Yeah.
A little fact about somebody we don't know enough about. A guy who helped George get a guitar. And you may wonder who he is. Well, what research I could do was, I was reading a book about Beatle guitars, and it included the type of guitar George had, and somebody, somehow or other, had photographed the invoices and the receipts from the guitar shops when people were buying guitars, and got hold of this one. And this is one for a fella called Glynn Trower. Glynn Trower. Now, Glynn lived in Huskerson Street, which is a famous part of Liverpool, which is lovely to look at. And it's always bedsit land as far as I'm concerned. It always was. Full of students and people who did various things who were just passing through Liverpool. And this Glynn Trower was originally from Wales. He was born in 1930, a little bit older than George, of course, but he attended Liverpool College of Art. So some way or other, he knew Stuart Sutcliffe and he knew John. He was a photographer, and that was his art. He was kind of doing artistic art through photography. And he went to go later on work in Canada, but came to Liverpool to finish his course. And he was what they call a mature student. And what it was George roped him in to being a guarantor for his guitar. I don't know why he took the risk. But George needed to buy a new guitar, and it was probably one of the famous ones we're talking about.
We said he'll pay him back
Well,
or whatever.
The thing was, George didn't have all the money to buy the guitar, so he paid it on the drip, the never we call it. And it's called hire purchase. And so Glynn Trower signed his name, innocently, I suppose, to it, probably over a pint. And he signed his name to say, yeah, if George doesn't pay, I'll pay for it.
Keep it up. Yep.
God knows what he did with it, but he bought. It turns out he bought a guitar amp, and Glynn's the guy to follow. He's never been around since, and he's probably long gone. So a fellow called Glynn Trower in obscure land in terms of what George is. How are we for time? Are we good to go?
I think we're nearly done.
I think we've done enough.
Aye.
So it's our pleasure to present the show to you. We hope you have a bit more understanding about what George is about. We hope you enjoyed Beatles with an A.
The odd question, the odd clue.
Yeah, and we will remain obscure and different. It's not
it's not planned.
Not planned.
No.
It's just.
The thing is, as Neil Innes says, we haven't rehearsed it, so nothing can go wrong. It's perfect, really.
Yeah.
Another excellent top of the list.
So I think we can leave you with that assurance that we'll do exactly the same thing next time we turn up for Beatles with an A, letter I.
And so it's good night from Colin.
And it's good night from Mark.
And it's good night from that man over there.
Oh, him.
Who is he?
He's the next guy. He's doing We Like It When It's Quiet podcast, which is a 6-hour episode dedicated to silence and presented by no one at all. So he's no one at all.
Oh, why has he got no clothes on?
Oh, I'll ask him that.
I'll go over and have a word with him.
You go
it's putting me off a little bit.
Yeah, okay, just close your eyes.
I'll go and put the kettle on while I'm out there as well. Have you got any biscuits?
Yeah, plenty of them.
Look pretty good.
Custard creams tonight. Could do with a Toblerone, though. I don't know what made me think of that.
Have you faded that out now?
Not yet. I'm going to. Let me get round to it.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Beatleplaces podcast with Mark and Col. We hope to see you again real soon, and don't forget to visit the gift shop on the way out.